Welcome back. Well, today I am joined by Carolyn Inman, who is here on behalf of the South Orange County Community College District. Well, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
You know, we've had a few different interviews with many different trustees, and you had mentioned Marcia, and she is always extremely excited to I think she's just excited in general, right? And she's a tough act to follow. However, I can tell that you're very excited about telling us some information, and you're new. So can you tell me just a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a native Californian. I was educated in the public schools of California, almost all the way through. That included El Camino Junior College, it was called at the time, and then UCLA and Cal State Northridge and so forth. So I then became a teacher, and I did that teaching, or at the end more of educational leadership, but I did that for 40 years. So school has been my life, and that's fine with me. I love students, I love teachers, I like the whole school setting.
Oh, well, this is the perfect spot for you then. Do you find that the majority of people who end up in this kind of position have been from that same background?
Not really, although two others on this board are from that background. They were more administrators, but I think they started as teachers. The one difference with me and them is that I taught almost every grade from kindergarten at El Toro Marine School to community college. Wow. So it's kind of, I never set out to do that. I think I'll teach all the grades, but it worked out that way. So I have a vast knowledge of where people are coming from, where they're going, all that sort of thing, which I think can be helpful.
Oh, I agree. I mean, it's nice as a teacher, you were able to go through all of that, because then, when you teach the younger ones, you're teaching them something so much different than you're teaching the older ones. Although many times you may have wished you were teaching the younger ones and vice versa.
And there were times where you thought of a different level, but I liked them all. I actually did.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So in your current position, what is it that this area covers?
You mean the whole area of the?
Yeah. So including parts of, you're a trustee for which areas?
Okay. Well, I'm number one, area number one, which is basically most of Irvine, and then the numbers go south. So number 7 is further south and so forth. So I'm very familiar with the Irvine area, having done a lot of community service and different things in Irvine. The interesting thing about this last election, when I got elected for the first time, is that was still the situation where you needed to campaign and get votes, win whatever, the entire district, which is quite a challenge.
Yeah.
That's the last time they're going to do that. From now on, they're going to elect the voters will be in that number 1 or number 2, etc.
Oh, I see.
So,
Yeah, well, you have a slide here that talks about what it's like to be a senior and to campaign. Tell me how that went.
Well, it should have said what it's like to be a senior in COVID and campaign.
Oh, right.
Yeah, being a senior in campaigning is just fun. You have more time than the people who are working full time, so that's an advantage. Perhaps more networks you've accumulated over the period of your life and so forth. The COVID thing was the part that was really interesting, because I was a communication major at UCLA and then Cal State Northridge. So I like the one-on-one. I like to say I'm running for, and then have a conversation about that with one person, etc. You almost always get the voter that way because they know you and they don't necessarily know the others. So I really missed that. But we did a extreme social media campaign, which of course has come up and is less expensive than other kinds of things you do anyway. Plus lots of emails and phone calls, and and there were a few candidate forums that we did, and they were of course on Zoom.
Mhm.
And once I got used to them, they felt okay too. I enjoyed them.
That's great. And Irvine is a very large community. I mean, you have lots of people that you have to deal with. And of course, it's all different ages and it is
Right.
growing so fast. I mean, it's a really big deal that you were elected. So congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah.
Now, in regards to what are some of the things that you will be doing, for the community, what is it that you are going to be doing?
Well, we of course have the meetings, and those are based on all of the needs of the district at that month and ongoing. And that's one of the first things. When I got the first notebook for the first meeting, it was like that thick.
Yeah.
Now, I knew that, I knew that it would be that way. And I actually really like to do that sort of thing. I was a debater at one time. Not that I intend to debate all these things, I don't at all, but I like to read and analyze and see the evidence and all that sort of thing. So I actually like that kind of reading. But then in addition, we'll be supporting of the schools, of the two colleges especially. And I have some special interests. One of them is foster youth. And I just set up a scholarship, one at each college for foster youth. I'm very drawn to them, having had some special experiences at Mount Sac where I taught, and it's like they don't have anyone else. So I want to be part of that. But I love the Emeritus College, and the thing about community college that is so neat that I love the most about it is that it is very complex, and that's what makes it interesting. You might be talking about the Emeritus College one time and the mascot of Saddleback another time, the budget, of course, the programs, the events, raising money. But there's like over 90 programs at a community college, whether it's firefighters or welding or, it just makes it really interesting. I taught speech one, public speaking in high school for a long time. And the speeches were kind of alike. Went to the mall, went to the football game, went before you got into the more serious speeches. There's so many different kinds of students. That's what I like the best about it.
Yeah, well, and also the other thing that is nice about junior college is you can actually help shape somebody's future and career because, like you said, there's firefighter and welding, and there's all these other types of things. And interestingly, I am also a communications major from San Diego State. And Speech 101 that I took as a freshman was it changed my life. And I went into communications, and now here I am doing something that's full of communicating. So, you have that opportunity to shape somebody, which I think is, or give them the opportunities that they would not have had otherwise. So it's a great thing. Let me ask you something about your senior council. So obviously we have many, many seniors that live here in our community, and they're always looking for, I think, interesting things that are going on in the community that are specific to them. Of course, the Emeritus is certainly one of them. What is the Senior Council and the OC Senior Citizens Advisory? What are both of those?
Okay, I really like those debates. I've been an advocate for various things probably my whole life. And now I'm an advocate for seniors. That the Irvine City Council, or Senior Council, because that doesn't apply to yours, but the other one does. Anyway, the city council, Senior Council is made up of 7 people, one each from each 5 council members will appoint one each, and then there's 2 at large. And I've been the at-large one for 3 terms now, and I've been chair of it. And what we do is that we study problems with seniors, and we challenges, good things too, of course, but we just study the whole way of life, what's going on. And, there's so much more going on than people realize. People have a stereotype of a certain area, and, there's pockets, not pockets, there's areas of Irvine where there are people that are struggling financially, and maybe they bought their house 40 years ago and things have changed and so on and so forth. So, and there's people the most important thing to me is the whole idea of isolation and loneliness.
Yeah.
And that you could be in the richest house with all kinds of money and have isolation and loneliness. So that's one of the things. And of course, that goes back to being a communication major. You know, how do you combat that? What do you do about that? And then the Orange County one, which is the Senior Citizens Advisory Council, almost the same name. That's very interesting because it's made up of people from all over the county, of course. And each supervisor nominates some people, each city nominates people, and then there are people that are another way through the council itself chooses some people. Okay. And so what happens with that is that we are the main voice to the Board of Supervisors.
Great.
And so when they, you know, because they can't study all these issues, and these are real people working under real people working under a volunteer status. Mm-hmm. And each year we give priorities, and we are just finished working through those. You know, again, one of our priorities incidentally has to do with the interest that I have on the loneliness. It has to do with connection and technology, because mm-hmm. Some seniors, I should say, are reluctant to engage in the computer. Right. And yet, boy, what COVID has told us is that it can be a really good thing to be able to stay connected or get connected with people. Yeah. So that's one of the things. And one of the really things that I find fascinating is that, having been an educator and now a senior advocate, that there are so many similarities. And now we're starting to use in the senior advocacy the digital divide, which we've used in education for a long, long time. Because mm-hmm. there isn't, you know, they even had an example of someone who told someone that they would lose their benefits if they didn't do a Zoom type of thing on their home that they lived in for Section 8 housing.
Yeah.
If you don't have a computer, you don't have one. Or if maybe you can't afford a phone. So anyway, there's all kinds of connectiveness things that we're working on, as well as means.
Well, that's great. And you know, and I think that's very important, because our seniors numbers population is growing. So yes. that's something that's going to have to be tackled sooner rather than later. Right. So excellent. Okay, real quick, let's just touch on emeritus. The spring is here. Just go over that real quick, and then we'll have to close out.
Okay. Well, spring 21, I was looking at this again this morning. It's very important because the open entry registration ends on April 15th. Mm-hmm. And the classes themselves end May 26th. So we've only got 9 days or so here to go ahead and do that. Summer registrations are posted on March 22nd. Were posted, I should say. And that registration begins on April 27th. Yep. So these, one thing that interests me so much about it is it's open entry, open exit. So people can come in and out of the classes. Right. But they still get full. So. Oh yeah, they do. And now, you know, people have been staying home a little bit more than they usually would. So they'll get filled fast. So. Right. Yeah. Well, Carolyn, it was very nice to meet you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. It was very enjoyable.
All right. And we'll talk to you again, I'm sure.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And we'll be right back after this.